So those of you who don't know me well, I'm Mike Jenssen. I'm based some of the time in Portugal and some of the time in Brazil. Yeah, I'm a freelance consultant, but working half-time for the Association for Progressive Communications, which is an organization I helped form in 1990. We're a network of organizations working in internet and human rights intersection, which ranges from everything between fighting against gender-based violence online to helping small rural communities in the global south get connected. So as part of that work, which is the area that I focus on mainly, is looking at the technology options to help these small communities get online. And those communities range from some of our member organizations. I think there are about 50 members of APC right now, mainly in the global south. But also, Abednego, would you mind muting your microphone? Yes, so, and then we have a bunch of partners, and we're fairly informal about the people we work with. Mainly trying to, as I say, help these small organizations working for community upliftment in remote and rural areas. So part of that work was responding to a proposal that we received from one of our collaborants in Brazil, actually, outside of Sao Paulo, in a small community called Monteiro Lobato. Perhaps at this point I'll share my screen so we can get a bit more of a background on the activities I've been working with here. So yeah, intro slide. Graphic produced by, I should credit our collaborants in Asia for the nice graphic that they drew for this presentation. And there you can kind of see a tower with our main focus is on the connectivity side, but we also work on the digitalization of services and digital skills development and general capacity building around better use of the internet. So why bamboo? Well, it's a renewable and versatile resource with a lot of strength and low weight. And it's also the world's fastest growing woody plant, sometimes growing up to 40 centimeters a day. So this means that, you know, even if you don't have any bamboo with you today, you can get planting, and in a very short time, even within a year or two, you can already have some significant growth of the bamboo plants to construct with. And it's been used as a low-cost construction material for centuries or even longer, perhaps. And I think another interesting point is because it's so fast growing and so dense, it actually holds more carbon than normal woody trees do. So in terms of our interest in supporting it for connectivity, you probably all know that you often need high towers to set up your wireless infrastructure to connect to the internet somewhere, which might be tens or even 50 kilometers away in some a bigger city. So this is our idea: is how do we make these towers out of bamboo? In fact, you may have to construct a number of towers because you may not be able to hop directly from where you want the internet to where you're getting the internet from. You might have to put in 2 or 3 towers along the way to get there, because the wireless signal generally follows line of sight. So you may have to go around a hill, or the signal strength may be diminished enough that you need to amplify it through a new tower. So some of our networks might have 2, 3, or even 4 towers in between their users and the fiber optic link that provides the internet. And you don't actually also have to have high towers standing from the ground. You know, within your community, you might just have mount a small tower on the roof so that you can share the signal with your neighbors, or get around a tree, for example, or generally to improve the signal strength in your surroundings. And so the types of towers can be a kind of a lattice framework, like the one there in the graphic, with main pillars and then a lattice reinforcing them. But they can also be guyed, in other words, with cables to stabilize a structure that might be depending on less material, for example. And then also even monopole towers where it's just a single pole. This is very popular with outdoor access points that are mounted onto buildings, for example. And what particularly interests us is how to use bamboo as a local resource rather than having to import skills and iron, which is often the most commonly common material for manufacturing towers. So if the bamboo can be sourced locally, that means that you know, the community has a sense of ownership over their connectivity more. They don't feel as dependent on outside skills and resources, and generally builds their sense of resilience and agency. And then, of course, the other thing is that bamboo towers cost less than towers made from other materials. So especially if the community is growing their own bamboo, it can cost extremely little compared to having to import a costly metal tower, for example. We found a publication which compared the cost of a bamboo tower with a tower made of metal pipe. And there you can see that the tower costs about half the cost. And that is the installation cost is about the same. But if you're growing your own bamboo, you might be able to get the cost even down further, because that cost there assumed that you had to pay for the bamboo and the transportation and the pieces that link the bamboo together. And we also did find a example of a telecom tower made of bamboo in Bangladesh. There's a small picture you can see with the various wireless antennas mounted on it by a tower management company called Edotco. So this stimulated our kind of discussions with our partner in Brazil called CoolLab, who've been doing a lot of work with remote community networks in many areas, in indigenous communities and in favelas and other informal settlements around Brazil. So what I'd like to do now is to play you a video from the first prototype that we supported, which will give you a good background, I think, into the work that was done that stimulated our initial interest in this area. Let me see what I need to do to get this going. Sorry, I don't know why it's not appearing on my screen yet. Just give me a second here.
You still can see.
What do you see? A blank screen. I think I scrolled down too far. Here we are.
Yeah. We can't see the video now, huh?
Sorry, you say you don't see the video?
Yes, even I can't see.
That's strange. Yeah.
I think you are sharing just the window.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. I'm not sharing the right screen. You're right. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's share the right window here. I'll start it again. Turn on screen sharing. Yeah, okay. Hopefully you'll see it now.
It's perfect.
Mike, there doesn't seem to be any sound from the video.
Hi, sorry, I hear there's no sound coming from the video. Sorry, I'm unfamiliar with this technology. It says I have to choose a new option to share sounds. Let me see if this
But
works.
I think it's okay with the subtitles because
Yeah,
probably people
subtitles.
speaking Portuguese, right?
True. Maybe
I can hear now.
Now you have nice
Material
music
muito
as well.
abundante, muito barato. Só que o bambu tem esse problema que ele degrada. E aí a pessoa fica achando que é o equipamento ou que não funciona, mas na verdade é o bambu que degradou e mudou o posicionamento da antena. E isso causa um problema no sinal da conexão entre os roteadores. A gente quer usar o bambu ainda, mas precisa ser usado de uma maneira mais aprimorada. Tendo colhido o bambu, o passo 2 é o tratamento do bambu. A nossa ideia foi construir um sistema de pressurização da solução preservativa com materiais que fossem de fácil acesso. A gente adapta um motor de geladeira usado e numa das saídas de ar a gente colocou uma mangueira com um bico de encher pneu para poder conectar naquele bico que está na tampa e fazer a pressão necessária para a solução passar por difusão nas varas de bambu. Não tem um padrão industrial para isso. Não existe uma peça que você compra com o tamanho do bambu, porque o bambu está na natureza com diferentes tamanhos. Acaba sendo um quebra-cabeça, tanto agora para o tratamento, quanto depois na construção da torre. Depois de ter desenhado e entendido mais ou menos como ia ser essa montagem, que ela ia ser com peças metálicas, eu precisava também de alguém que trabalhasse com isso para me apoiar, para a gente conseguir fazer isso. É uma coisa que a gente nunca fez, e aqui na comunidade eu encontrei uma pessoa que é o Fabinho. Não é só alguém que tem a capacidade técnica de fazer solda, mas sim alguém que tem coragem e tem vontade de experimentar algo novo. Essa é a peça de junção que a gente bolou aqui, né? Que é uma chapa plana. Essa chapa tem esses 4 furos dos cantos que vai parafusada numa chapa embaixo. Essa chapa, o objetivo dela é para fazer a junção entre os bambus. E agora a gente vai começar a montar e ver se vai dar certo mesmo. A torre ela tem 2 tipos de peça de bambu. Tem uma peça que vai na horizontal, esses bambus vão fazer o travamento do quadro, e os bambus na vertical eles vão fazendo a altura da torre, né? Essa peça final é uma chapa. A gente cortou os cantos dessa chapa e soldou as abraçadeiras que levam nesse bambu final direto nessa chapa. Ela tem um orifício. Esse orifício a gente soldou um tubo. E esse tubo a gente soldou umas porcas para dar um aperto numa haste que vem no meio desse tubo. E essa haste é importante porque ela que vai dar mais altura para o equipamento. Depois de colocar o equipamento na torre, foi nítida a diferença no sentido de manutenção. É só soltar os parafusos, abaixar a haste e mexer no equipamento. E o legal é que é uma tecnologia que combina muito com a rede comunitária. Que ela não é uma coisa externa que a gente precisou pagar muito caro e com uma engenharia de fora que alguém teve que fazer. Não, isso tudo foi pensado aqui, foi feito com materiais daqui, com pessoas daqui, e isso aproxima bastante.
Thanks, folks. Are we back? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you and hear you. And we have Tahir who's asking any reason for the choice of metallic joints instead of
Yes,
other
that's
organic twine.
indeed. That's a very good question. And I guess in this initial project, that was the choice of Shure with QLab. But I wanted to show you some pictures of some other construction work that we've been supporting or considering. So basically, the QLab tower was built about 18 months ago, and it's still functioning, although Shure tells me recently that the bamboo has shrunk significantly, even although when they bought it, it was pretty dry. And so his advice is to make sure that the bamboo is really very dry and fully shrunk, because obviously as it shrinks further, those steel joints don't change their dimensions, so the structure becomes a bit less stable. So following that project, we worked with the National Institute of Technology in Silchar and the Institute of Information Technology in Mumbai to develop a funding proposal to the ISIF fund, which is a fund run by the Asia Pacific Internet Registry there, APNIC. And as a result of that, late last year, early this year, they were confirmed as one of the grantees. So they received some funds now to extend the project with the engineering department doing some detailed specification work and to do a more methodical set of designs and testing with sensors and stress measurements, etc. And as part of that work, APC is also helping a number of the partner organizations in Latin America, Asia, and Africa to test some of the prototypes and also draw on any experiences they have in this area of bamboo, which is partly why I'm very excited about this meeting and hearing about your experiences and how that might help provide inputs into this project that's just now really kicking off. So they haven't completed any designs yet. I think they're in the desk research phase, although the networks that we've been working with in Indonesia have quite a lot of experience in this area, and they've been doing some testing already. and actually have put up a monopole tower. So this is here. Can you see the picture that I'm sharing, or do I have to share the screen again? Okay, so this is from our one of the villages in central Indonesia, from our partner Common Room. And they have extensive experience in construction there, and you can see they mainly use cord for bindings. So they have a lot of bamboo that they use in everyday practices for many of their buildings. So it was quite easy for them to adapt this technique, and they're very keen to try and building a major bamboo structure. You can see the simple raffia cords that they use to bind the structure there. So here they are preparing the poles that they're going to use for a simple initial monopole antenna to see how that works. And there you can see the villages, and in the background the tower on the roof of the hut with a simple guy wire to stabilize it. And there it is again. You can see, interestingly enough, even though that tower is probably going to be quite flexible and bend quite a bit in the wind, if the distance isn't too far, then it can bend like 15, 20 degrees even without much loss of signal. The main thing is, you know, its resilience in high winds to be able to keep and not break in very stressful conditions. So here the villagers, you can see they construct their houses with bamboo, and they're planning the community network. And testing the connectivity on some laptops there. And so this is the very simple mock-up prototype design that they are planning to build in their village to take it to the next level of height. And so similarly to the one of Kulab's with Yuri, it has a central shaft that will rise above the main part of the antenna structure to create extra height and to be able to easily bring down the electronic equipment if needed. One of the things is obviously you have to be able to have access to your electronic routers or whatever equipment you're mounting on the antenna to be able to maintain that, or to upgrade it, or to troubleshoot if there's a connection problem. So I'm going to go back now to the presentation, which I will share with everyone, and it has the links to the video and to those photos and slides, so that you can catch up with it at your leisure. I just wanted to show you one more thing before we move on. Yeah, here we are. Yes, so there are the links to the video, and then Kulab also have a wiki where they are explaining in more detail the techniques they use to make the preservation of the bamboo and the construction of the different elements of the tower. And there's a link there also to the ICIF Asia grant. And then on an ongoing basis, for those of you who are interested, we have a kind of a bulletin board based on software called Discourse, which we call the Passive Infrastructure Community of Practice. So in that online space, we're sharing information on masts and towers, but also solar power, for example, or lightning protection, and all of those aspects that don't relate directly to the electronics of the communication equipment. And then at the bottom of that group, you can see the invite to the Telegram channel, which you're welcome to join, which has those photos I showed you, and is where we discuss on a more informal basis and share information. And we try and host about once a month an online discussion group amongst the different members of the community of practice to share experiences on how the project is going and make suggestions about the way forward. Of course, there's also many other resources, but one particular interesting one for those interested in learning about bamboo is the Bamboo Online University, which is holding another online course, I believe, in August for people interested in learning in more detail about bamboo construction techniques. And of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be bamboo. It could be if you have a lot of good eucalyptus poles or other materials locally that makes more sense for you to use. Then, of course, you could still apply some of the design ideas and techniques used for bamboo masts and build your own tower out of your own structure. So that photograph on the left is actually a simple wooden structure that was used to mount a windmill in Malawi. So there's another example of how this kind of learning and experiences can be applied. So for renewable energy purposes as well as forwarding electronic signals. So thanks very much for your time, and sorry about the technical hiccups there. And of course, don't hesitate to send me an email if you want more information, or if I can help connect you with a group in your locality, I'd be very happy to do so. So I will send the slide set on to Fadia and she can share it with the group, or I guess now that I'm a member, I can post it in the mailing list if that's the most appropriate place for it. Well, so thanks very much, folks, and I will hand it on to Jaspreet.
Thank you,
Yeah, thanks,
Mike.
Mike. Yeah, Fadia, please go ahead.
No, please, the floor is yours.
No, just wanted to say before you leave, Mike, there's one more question asked by Twahir. He wanted to ask about the Bangladesh tower height. How much height was there of that tower?
The Bangladesh tower was only about 6 or 7 meters because it was mounted on the flat roof of an existing 5-story building structure, so not particularly high. And we're hoping to be able to go to about 20 meters with the prototype that's being developed in Mumbai. I think a lot of the question around the ultimate height that can be reached will also depend on the extent to which you can use guy wires to stabilize the structure. Many of you have probably seen those very high high-frequency radio broadcasting towers that can be, 25 or 35 or even 40 meters high, and you'll see that they have, half a dozen guy wires holding the quite narrow masts in place. So that can be quite a good way of stabilizing the structure, but then, of course, you need access to metal cables. So it really depends on whether it's worth going that high with one tower, or whether it might make more sense to have a lower tower and then use more of them to hop from one location to another to get around whatever obstacle is requiring that level of height.
And what is the height of the tower in the video which you shared? Is that same height?
The one in Montero Lobato is about 15 meters.
Okay, that was 15 meters. Okay. And one more question from Chris. Is there any open manual for the construction?
There isn't, but it's funny you should ask about that, because in fact we're in the process of commissioning 2 manuals, one from a rural development NGO in Maharashtra State in India, who will be providing a simple to use manual on how to grow bamboo. And then as a result of the work that is done in terms of developing the prototype designs at the Institute of Technologies, we expect a manual to be produced from that. There are various books that are available, and in fact I think there are a couple of links to them in the Telegram chat that talk about how to use bamboo as a construction material generally, but we haven't seen any specific guidance on building towers with bamboo at this point. So that's why we're planning to develop this manual of construction activities, and then one, as I say, on the cultivation of bamboo, which also involves the selection of the ideal species, because some species of bamboo, I think there's hundreds of species of bamboo actually, but some are more suitable for construction than other ones.
Thanks, Mike. And any questions from anyone to Mike? Okay. Thank you, Mike, for your lovely session. And let me just extend this section towards the connectivity now. So we are working in the sustainable one. One is to provide the connectivity in the unconnected and the underserved region. And of course, the second one is how to make it sustainable. Okay. So I always believe that, okay, funding helps you to grow something, but we should never be dependent only on the funding. So once you get the funding, that project, that network, you can say, should be sustainable one, so that from the next onwards, you believe that it is going to sustain itself. There should be some profit, you can say, to sustain it. Otherwise, you believe once the funding stopped, then what to do? Okay, so then that thing is not continuing. So we work in that area that, okay, you got the funding, you created one network. Now, how to make it sustainable? Okay, so yeah, we will learn about some techniques how to do that. So bamboo, of course, the construction of bamboo towers is one of the key role here, which will make the sustainable one, because the infrastructure cost is very important in creating one network. So if you talk about the community networks, wherein the community participate to create one network, then of course the initial investment, you can say, is very important, because either you go for a small funding, or from the family, friends, and anyone, or the community itself pays for that network. So it should be low cost. So yes, bamboo towers are one of the example of the low cost towers. So let me share my screen, and we'll talk more about the connectivity part, so that together we'll make a good session. That, okay, we have the low cost bamboo towers, and then the low cost networks, and then the sustainable one. So let me share my screen.
Are you allowed to share a screen? I think you are allowed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Kirat Communications.
Yes. So just an introduction. We started ourselves from the same institute which Mike just mentioned, that Indian Institute of Technology. So I worked over there as an engineer, project engineer, for 5 years, and we work on different projects. So yeah, connectivity was one of the best projects, and I worked in for the rural connectivity to connect the underserved one. So we have focused on many technologies. So we are still focusing on the available technologies or generating the new one. So earlier we go with the TV white space test bed. We have created first TV white space, that how to use the TV frequencies, okay, the white spaces in the TV band. How can these band be utilized to provide connectivity in the rural areas, because they doesn't require the strict line of sight. That means from point A to point B, if there are little obstructions, like say trees, not so much of big height, the near line of sight, so you can utilize them, that frequency, because lower the frequency, better penetration, so you can go far with that. So after that, this different projects. So I run my own startup in the name of Kirat Communications, with the aim of only connecting the unconnected and the underserved communities in the rural areas, and how to make them sustainable ones. Though we are also into some other services, the installation and other IoT and MTM applications, but the core area remains the connectivity in the rural one. So we are assigned with our ourselves with the Sustainable Development Goals. So we are focusing currently on the good health and well-being, quality education. So because once you create connectivity, you can infuse different projects like health, education, e-education, e-health, e-banking, e-commerce, and various activities. So we always believe that we are creating a basic platform in the future generations, wherein connectivity is one of the important part. Without this, you can't do anything. Can't do means you can't do anything. So here in India, we say that, okay, to survive, we need water. To survive, we need food. And a house. Okay, so now we have added internet. So if you want to survive, if you want to go ahead, so these are the basic amenities. So internet means connectivity. So if anyone is connected, so you're connected to globe. So connectivity is an important part. Without this, it is very difficult to go ahead or survive. So with this e-education and all that, we are aligned with the good health and well-being and the quality education, the third and the fourth goal, and affordable and clean energy, because we always try to use a solar solution as in the part of the same. Again, connect an individual with the connectivity. We believe that it is directly proportional to the economic growth of the country. If you connect one individual, she will try to use that, surf the internet, and there is some business you can say or anything related to it. We're going to order some online food, shopping, anything. So it will have some business in it. So once the business is involved, it creates some transaction. If some transaction is there, so that we believe is happening, and that is directly proportional to the economic growth. So we believe, yes, connectivity is important, but in fact, in creating the revenue generation as well as the economic growth. So next is the sustainable communities and cities and communities. Of course, in the rural areas, if you provide connectivity, so with the use of the internet, they are going to use it and they are going to apply the same in their lives. So their social well-being is definitely will open up, and then there is a lifestyle change in the communities. So, and the last one is the partnership for the goals. Of course, we try to involve different hubs, you can say, or every other part of the world, because connecting to the network means globally connected. So you can always share your stuff with everyone. So yeah, this is the need of a developing nation. So that's a big problem statement. Billions of people are around the globe are still connected. So, and we have to connect them in a very smart way. And that's not, in fact, you can say only the developing nation, but of course, I would say that it's a global problem. The developed nations have rural areas as well, where the connectivity is still a challenge. So we can't say that, okay, it's a global challenge we have to solve. We are focusing in this problem statement. So again, many challenges are there. If you go with fiber, then there is underground laying fiber problem. If you go with the wireless, then again, high-heighted towers are required. Of course, we have discussed that bamboo is one of the important part to reduce down the cost. But still, there are a lot of challenges to connect this connectivity. So again, we believe that, okay, we have to adopt each and every technology. Say, if fiber laying is okay, go with the fiber one. If wireless connectivity can be one of the solution, we go with the wireless one. If both are not available, then go with the satellite one. Or if you have another form of technology, definitely we are working, we are looking, and we are doing innovation for that to connect. Our aim is to just connect. So why these private telecom operators are not going into the rural areas again? The average revenue per user, ARPU, is a problem. So huge capital investments are required, and then after putting so much of capital, if they are not able to get that average revenue, so these private telecom operators are not interested. Then the question becomes, who will we have to push towards this, so that these rural connectivities can be covered. So yes, of course, we say that community networks are one of the solution, in which community itself can participate in creating that network, and to solve this problem, wherein the private telecom operators are not interested. So in particular to my case, that is in India, so there are a lot of government initiatives. We have plans, national fiber optic connectivity plan, to connect all the gram panchayat, the village head, you can say, with the fiber. But again, it's a challenging task. Still, they have not able to cover that target. Again, with the use of some common service centers where people can use services, and public Wi-Fi hotspot are one of the initiatives. But again, they are not achieved. Being India is a big country and with a lot of population, so there remain always a challenge that nothing can be done. Everything cannot be done by the government and or by the private telecom operators. So we need to focus on some way in which we can connect this connectivity. So we say that, okay, we need to have some digital connectivity platform. Why we call it this as a digital connectivity platform? Because this platform gives you a thing, you can say a complete platform where you can connect to the world. So again, believe me, there is nothing rocket science in it, but again, connecting the unconnected community itself is a challenge. So we always say that nobody is doing it, but we are doing it. That's why we are different. Though there is no rocket science included in this, but again, if you connect this, the changes which you'll say is again a rocket science kind of stuff, because again, you are going to get good health, good education, and GDP growth. So these are the hidden factors, but it's a simple one. Just connecting one community, we are focusing on it. Okay, so again, creating the rural Wi-Fi hotspots is one of the example wherein we can focus of putting different Wi-Fi hotspot access points. So low cost access points, we are also into developing them and use the available ones. I mean, and in any way. So if something is available in the market, we go with the availability of the same. If something we believe that, okay, this is not available, so we believe in designing that stuff. Creating Wi-Fi hotspots in the villages is again. So here you can also see bamboo towers can also help as one of the important part. If we just bamboo tower is okay to bring that big connectivity. We always say that the backhaul connectivity, like from the already present tower to connect a village, we one side the tower is already present, so another side we can use big bamboo towers to create point-to-point connectivity, and then using small sticks over the on the top of a house can create an interconnected network. Okay, so again, low cost, that is our main stuff. For the sustainable ones, if the initial investment or the cost is less, again, we are going to survive more. So that's why we always focus in the low cost solution. So again, solar can also be counted as one of the low cost solution, because it reduces down and also a clean form of energy that is available. So okay, this slide will show you one of the best example. Now believe that there is a tower here where it can be any private telecom operator tower. So if you create one bamboo towers here in the villages, in this kind of villages, and the distance will around 2 to 5 kilometers, which we believe, I mean, this is a particular scenario for the Indian one, because we believe that one village is approximately 2 to 5 kilometers away from the center of the village, that is the GP, Gram Panchayat, the head village of the 3 undercome villages. We have 6,40,000 villages in India and around 2,50,000 Gram Panchayats. So that can be one of the practical example of using the bamboo towers. So we are creating the already infrastructure, that is the private telecom operator tower, and if we can use the bamboo towers inside one village, so it become a low cost solution. We have to focus over there. Then we have to just put this directional dish antennas and in the both sides, and then few meters away, say 500 meters away, the inter one, the small Wi-Fi access point one, to provide the Wi-Fi hotspot to the last mile connectivity, that is the end users, the people who are using the same. Here I would like to tell you about one of the important factor that even don't require internet. Okay, so we never say that, hey, look, internet connectivity is important, but I say connectivity is important. Connectivity without internet is important. I can tell you one simple example, and that's the best use case which I've ever found while connecting the community networks or the rural area, you say. So this is the village 1, okay, this is the village 2, and this is the village. Say suppose that this tower, we are not able to get the line of sight. So we have to connect these villages with the intra one. Okay. So one bamboo tower in village one bamboo tower in village 2, and one bamboo tower or low cost, say 10 meters only. Okay. So village 1 is connected with the village 2, and village 2 is connected with the village 3. There is no internet. Okay. But still they are connected with the dish antennas. And if you put one small firewall router of any company, say, and connect these villages with the dish antenna one, and if you have smartphones, at least one or two smartphones, say in one village, so there is one app which came, that's the Talkie app. If you install this Talkie app in that smartphone, so village 1 person can talk to village 3 person without the internet. Not even talk, they can call, they can chat, they can share files, and you can even create a connectivity platform. You know, I mentioned that connectivity platform, so which I say that in that router you can have the local website host, you can host that. I always call it as knowledge sharing platform, wherein any person can share anything. Say in village 1, one is having some problem of water or any other problem, so they can upload this, and they have solved some common problem to get that water, or to I mean any other example. And village 2 is having the same problem, but they can't communicate because it's not frequent to go in the rural areas. If any business is there, then only you move out from one village to another village, and the distance can be very more. Say in hilly areas, you have to in the aerial distance it will look like it is 1 or 2 kilometers, but in the physical distance you may have to go around 30 or 50 kilometers to reach that village. So in that area, in that cases, if you connect these communities, and there is one problem or there is anything which you have to find out, they can immediately share that problem on that sharing platform, and the village 2 person or the village 3 person can immediately be told that via notifications. It can be possible without internet. Believe me, we have done that. And then they are going to get the important things, that stuff. So that's what we believe, that the power of connecting communities with internet or without internet. So our focus area then become more. So I'll give you example of the 3 villages in the Maharashtra. So village 1 was having doctor, and village 2 was not having doctor facilities, because village 1 was a little big and village 2 was a little small. Okay, so we have interconnected, and the internet was not working, but we have shared that Talkie app that you can anytime call. Okay, so village 2, one person got a snake bite, and they immediately make a call, the SIP call, you can say, without internet call, to the village 1 doctor, and they immediately came in 5 or 10 minutes, and the person got saved. So that's, we believe that, okay, this intranet has created a useful application, and lives are saved with the help of these kind of stuff. So that's, we believe, now it can be applied to any region of the whole world, or you can say globally. If say in Brazil or in Africa, where if we can connect 2 villages, and not, in fact, everyone is having the smartphone, but believe if 1 or 2 smartphones are there and they can call. So I can share you one photograph of the Kondwa network, which I went over there, and let me share that screen again. Yeah, can you see one photograph?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So this is one of the community network that is created in Kondoa, that is in Tanzania, which is around 100 miles away from the capital, Dodoma. So here we have installed the few access point inside the community only, and I was very surprised, and the people are also got surprised. So when they make their first call using that app without internet, so they were really very happy, and they say that we can call every time without any money. I said, yes, it is possible to call your loved ones anytime, I mean, without any money. So, you know, and they've become so much happy that they have contributed, every person in that community had contributed some money for putting that access point. So, you know, that's what we believe is the community network, wherein community participate itself and find out the use cases to talk or to share chat with each other without having that internet connectivity. So connectivity is important, okay, whether it is with internet or without. That was, I believe. So that's what that was one of the example of Condover Community Network, wherein they have called, make an intro call, and they are still using the same. I'm moving back to again my presentation. Okay, so yeah, so a few things about the challenges. So what it will do, changes, sorry. So it, I believe that if you create some connectivity networks, community networks, or you provide any connectivity to the underserved region, so you are going to give some employment opportunities, because you require some person who will manage this whole network. And yes, of course, you will definitely find out at least 1 or 2 person who have some knowledge, or that can be trained one for this knowledge. And second thing, we call them as local level entrepreneur, or in our case we call them as village level entrepreneur, VLEs, but it can be anything, whom we can train. They are responsible for managing the network and running the network, and the community can again pay to them for running and managing. So it can be like, say, that Condoa community network. So if two villages are talking with each other, so they are not giving anything to the telecom operator companies, because there is no recharge of the for calling. But for maintaining this access point, if you compare the cost, it is very, very less. So definitely some money is required. That is, we can't avoid that. If I avoid, then I'm saying that lie. Definitely there is some money is required to maintain and sustain the network. But with these things, we can drop down the cost, and then this cost can be contributed to the local person, so that it becomes sustainable. Okay, when you pay, so pay, we always say that payment is required. You can't avoid payment. So free word is a very dangerous word for me, I can say, because if you provide something free, then there is no value for that. So definitely very low cost, but there should be some cost available with anything which you're doing. Okay. So again, e-education, e-health, some NGO things and everything. That is one of the use cases again for this societal changes. Again, medical things, e-health is one of the thing, and again it helps startups and other things to grow. And this GDP again is one of the things that will result in creating the connectivity in the common part, which again, which I believe that now the urban areas are quite stable. I mean, stable in the sense saturated, you can say, wherein the money is same. I mean, there is no change in the GDP growth. Wherein if you focus over the rural areas and if you connect the communities, definitely you're going to get some more revenue out of it. So then it can increase the GDP growth of the country. Again, healthy lifestyles and using the resources innovatively can one of the results of this creating the community networks. So again, we believe all the e stuff, that is e-health, e-education, e-business, e-banking, e-commerce, everything. Once you create connectivity platform, this stuff can be infused. And you know, there is one more thing I would like to mention here. Each and every part project, you can say, which this funded, okay, any funding agency who are funding this money to create some good projects, okay, I believe that if they have their own sustainable models with them, then it can be infused in that create digital connectivity areas, and then both things will become sustained. I can give you an example. Let us suppose there is one health kiosk machine is developed by some company, and they are having a simple health kiosk in which a person can stand in that health kiosk, and that health kiosk can manage his health, few parameters, not all, like blood pressures and all that. And there is a little bit money associated with that test. Okay, so that health project, you can say, is having their own sustainable models with them, that okay, if I create this health kiosk and I install at one area, and if X amount of people come daily, and within 2 or 3 months I'm going to break even, and after that I'm going to sustain. Okay, so this is one health kiosk sustainable model. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one connectivity in the rural areas. I'm going to give that connectivity to this health kiosk. I'm going to invite this project into my village, that please come, and because you are having your own sustainable models, so infuse that e-health project into that village. It is having its own sustainable model. So my connectivity model is sustainable model. So both these models can survive with this stuff. So together it can go ahead for more years and years without even funding. Okay, funding is definitely required to create that health kiosk and to research more for the sustainable model. After that, that funding should be stopped, and it is going to practically implement in the areas, and then together this can become a better example. So we always believe that world, that future will be there, in which if you create good sustainable models associated with any project, say any project, if you're creating a lab, fab lab, hackerspace, makerspace, e-health, anything. So if you have a sustainable model, then you can infuse that sustainable model in that newly connected village or area, and it can go ahead. So that's what I believe in for this community networks, I would say. So again, the beneficiary, of course, the direct beneficiaries can be the people of that village, and of course indirect beneficiary can be the government, which will get something out of it, because again, almost every country is having some tax system associated with it. So if you do some things at this village level, so government is definitely going to get, or government can push funding with the beginning of these areas or project models, and then later on they can also earn that money back to them, and then again that money flows back to the community. So that's what I believe. So again, with the help of this bamboo towers, we can again, these are the services like the connectivity in the farthest area. So I believe connecting island is again next in good project, which I am just focusing. The habitat, the small habitat one, where the people are living, but again there is no connectivity part. So within, just imagine that say Indonesia is having around thousands of islands, okay, and maybe 10% or 20% of islands, that's the habitat island. And if you create an internet between these islands, okay, so because going through ship or to any means through water to that island is very difficult, instantly can't go. But if you create an local internet, and believe if one of the island is having internet connectivity, so believe all 20 islands will get the internet connectivity or the internet network. So that's what it is shown in this slide, that okay, in the farthest areas, islands can be one of the best example. Again, it can be used for any surveillance applications and software design development to provide connectivity to any hub space, maker space, or anything, and technological developments can be done. Yeah, so these are some self-designed products for the use of the community networks for point-to-point connectivity and intra-point connectivity, and that router which can hold local stuff. These are also available, so not much. And yeah, so I would like to thank here and rest my presentation and open up for any questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jaspreet. It was very, very interesting. And also this in connection with Mike's presentation, and after Mike's presentation, to see also some of the social effects of connecting communities. Yeah.
Yeah, Fahir, I will definitely share the presentation to Fadia, and she can share again back to the community, the geek community.
Yeah, thanks, Jaspreet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Mike.
Um, I had forgotten that we had met in Mumbai and then later in our tour with the Gramag communities up in northern Maharashtra.
Yeah.
So yes, voice of experience there. Thanks very
Yeah.
much for your.
When did you
um,
visit, Mike?
This would have been January 2018 when you were still working out of
Yeah,
the
yeah. I remember.
Gramag offices. Yeah,
Yes,
so
correct,
we
correct.
were visiting a school here that had your connectivity in
Yes.
Shilshet village.
Yes, I remember that, Mike.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
And I've already mailed my presentation out to the gig mailing list. So hopefully you'll be able to pick it up from there.
Lovely. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you, Jaspreet. I think we can open the floor if anyone has any last points, questions, remarks. Please do that now.
One question from Twahi that is about the name of the app, Jaspreet. I remember
Yeah,
once shared this app in Nakuru.
Yeah, Talkie. Talkie is the name of the app. I can share you that link. It's in the chat now. Yeah, Wahid, you're mentioning the hardware having monitoring. Yes, it is having the monitoring as well. It can be used, it can be accessed with the app also. So that's a Kefi app is there. Rest of the things I can share you. You can direct message me and we can share what the cost and the hardware.
Yes, one of the interesting things your presentation reminded me of, Jaspreet, was the relationship between the tower height and the technology needed. If you remember in those days, I think you were still testing out the TV white space technologies, which don't require the line of sight. So the towers could actually be much lower than they need to be with a Wi-Fi type connection, because there you need the two ends of the masts or the antennas to see each other directly. So the towers have to be quite a bit bigger. So it will depend on the type of frequencies that you're using, the technologies you're using to that may have an influence on how high you need your tower to be. Also, I think the distance from one tower to another will affect how rigid the tower has to be to maintain a good connection over a longer distance. For example, it might have to have less flexibility if there's any wind.
Yeah, in fact, TV workspace devices which were created with prototypes, they're very lightweight. So again, the good practical implementation after our project has been done by one person in Tanzania, that is Mr. Matagoro. He has came to India and the IIT. He's from Tanzania only. So he has definitely used the practical implementation of that, because in India it was very difficult after that, because government was not making it unlicensed for the use of the rural one. So, but again, yes. So TOS space, because it's like low cost and less small frequencies, they have better penetration. So the combination of bamboo towers and TOS space, in fact, will create even more low cost solution, which I believe. But unfortunately, it is not happening in India, because they have not unlicensed it. But again, yes, in globally, wherever the people can use this TV white space bands. So of course, the combination of low cost and low heighted bamboo towers and TV white space frequency can together create good solution, low-cost solution. Say Mike. Yeah.
Yes, good point, Jaspreet, which reminds me about the influence of the weight of the equipment that you need to mount up on the top of the mast.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, I think most times the small scale Wi-Fi type booster units and point-to-point masts are quite small and quite lightweight. But if, for example, you needed to mount a mobile base station transmitter like the ones that we have with our partner network in Mexico, I think they weigh quite a lot more, like upwards of 20 kilos. So there, you might have to have a much more rigid tower, for example. And then the other factor, of course, is the shape of the antenna itself. So if you're only having to go a short distance, then you might not need a large dish-shaped antenna. And those large dish-shaped antennas obviously have more wind resistance.
Yeah.
So if you're in a windy area and you have a longer distance to transmit the signal over, and you need a big antenna for that, then of course you would probably have to have a stronger bamboo mast to accommodate that. I guess similarly, often the solar panels to supply the power for the setup might be mounted on the mast as well, in which case again that would need to take into account any potential wind resistance.
Yeah, of course, Mike. I remember that Yagi antenna. They are very low weight antennas. You remember we have put them in the tower, Shishil Tower in the Palghar district near to Mumbai, Maharashtra. So yes, of course, if you go with that low weighted Yagi antennas, again, then we don't have to create some rigid structure, and it is again going to save some cost out of it. So yeah. So that's better solution. In fact, lesser. So our devices were even low power voltage was required. So again, lesser solar panels are required and small. So it can be easily mounted in that bamboo structure. So together, I think it's a good combination. So yeah, of course, every small things will reduce down the cost, and that saved cost can be used for creating more networks, and we can expand the connectivity reach. Like, that is what I believe.
Yes, good point. I think probably the major issue that we're dealing with in the project that is looking to develop the prototypes is the connector units. There's a very good point made earlier about the alternatives to steel connecting units, because obviously that requires more skill and you have to buy the materials probably from outside the village. So the possibilities to use some sort of cord or rope or fiber, I think will need to be explored. Obviously, there may be more maintenance involved in tightening those if the structure is being flexed by the wind, for example, they might loosen. But those kind of factors may not be so important if there's people in the village who know how to climb the tower and can maintain the tower at low cost. Even perhaps replacing individual members that may have become weak could quite easily be done. Whereas if it was a steel structure, it would be a lot harder to maintain it like that in situ, as it were, and you might have to take the whole tower down. So there's those kind of trade-offs. And I think also one has to be pragmatic about the situation, and if it makes sense to put a central steel pole up the middle of your bamboo tower, if you can get those steel pipes for plumbing or irrigation purposes quite easily, then you don't have to make your tower just out of bamboo. I think each situation will determine its own particular needs based on the local context, and that's hopefully what we're doing in the coming months when people try to implement some of the prototypes in their own local conditions. I think we've got a couple of people in Africa interested in trying out some of the mask designs, 2 or 3 people in Asia, and 2 or 3 communities in Latin America. So hopefully we'll have a wide range of conditions to explore, and lots of very interesting learning coming out of that whole process. And then, of course, I think we'll have to monitor the masts and get reports going ahead in the future to understand how the maintenance requirements and the life of the individual parts of the tower are affected over the longer run, so we can see how sustainable they are going forward in the future.
I think that's very important, all the things which I mentioned. So, of course, sustainability is again an important factor, that the weight of the devices, how long these bamboo towers can hold. And again, you know, since one of the good thing is also that since it's outdoor, so, you know, the rainy conditions, so there is no maintenance even required to, as compared to the traditional towers, because, you know, rust problem is there, and another thing is there in the metal tower or the steel tower, you can say. But I think as compared to the bamboo, so this thing also be covered. And of course we can put against different sensors network sensors to monitor their health in the long time. Definitely innovations are required. In fact, I believe that in every tower is different. So, and in fact, people can use this mask for different purposes as well. Like you mentioned that in the middle of that tower, if you put steel pipes and all that, in fact, you can even place a small tank, you know, water of that in the top if it is not required. So that can even store water for some users. So, you know, that's a different innovation ideas that can come up with the different minds of the people. And I believe that IIT and NIT Silchar, where it is happening, they are definitely going to put more efforts in creating the good things. And other areas which you mentioned, like Africa and Latin America, that's what we believe, that different innovations and different use. So like every person is different. So I believe every tower and their use case is different. So people can bring in more innovation to use bamboo tower. And so the other things can be combined, and of course it can become even more sustainable. So more cost saving, which I believe that different use cases means more cost saving, and again you can utilize that funds to some other things. Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Actually, it made me think that, you know, in some cases maybe it makes more sense not to build just a mast as a standalone freestanding structure, but maybe as part of a computer lab, or as you say, a water tower. So the building construction has more than one purpose. It could be a very valuable kind of construction. And the other spin-off, of course, is that once people have learned how to build towers out of the bamboo, you know, if they don't have experience with bamboo construction techniques, then they can apply those same knowledge to building other forms of housing and other structures in their communities. And I think finally the most interesting aspect that we could also consider is, you know, how to leverage on the skills and resources of the makerspaces in the nearby communities, you know, where they could use 3D printing technologies perhaps to create the connectors, or for cutting the bolts, or for applying the designs, and sharing those skills in those maker spaces. Yes.
So we are in Gig. So Gig is one of the
yes, platforms. It's perfect.
Yeah, we're so of course.
Just one thing on that, Mike. Quite quickly. Sorry, Jaspreet. It's the this group that is probably trying to build an antenna here house in Brazil that Casa Criatura, you know, they are used to build a kind of geodesic modular structure, you know, to cover things, and they used to do it with bamboo, and they do the connections with metal, but now they are studying a way to create these connections with 3D printers because they saw some models online of people already doing these junctions for bamboos, you know? So there are some models already of junctions for bamboos. To
Wow, that's
create
really
this,
interesting.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, to create the geodesic stuff, you know? So maybe
Yes, that'd be
maybe
very
it was
valuable
helpful.
experience to draw on. I love the geodesic dome, and it makes it's a very rigid structure which you could easily mount an antenna on the peak or extend it with a pole on the top of that. Yeah, very interesting.
Exactly. So good to point out that thing, you know? I think it's super important.
Yeah.
Or even
Yeah.
with laser cutters, you know, that is even easier.
Yes, you could really do some highly engineered fittings of the joints. If you had a laser cutter, you could be very accurate with your dimensions and make a very rigid structure.
Yeah, I think more innovative ideas will come up as we share more and more. So yeah, thank you, Mike, and over to you, Fadia.
Thank you, Jaspreet. Thank you, Mike. I think this is it. I mean, we've passed the time, but it's been perfect. Thank you so much, first of all, for taking the initiative and suggesting to do that talk. It was really lovely to organize between all of you. Thank you, everyone who's here, Tahir,